within your book, you come across a really interesting aspect of Hitler's personal and political life that isn't often touched upon in popular historical discourse, and that is Hitler's sex life.
Yes,
Um,
yeah,
Now,
yes.
I found this chapter particularly fascinating because I hadn't heard of much of this
No,
within
no.
my reading. So, how did Hitler, and you mentioned with alongside this chapter the political scandals that come along with sex life with popular uh, politicians such as Bill
Yeah,
Clinton.
yeah, yes, yeah.
How was Hitler able to escape any type of political scandal with his so-called unusual sex
Yeah,
life?
yeah, that's right, that's right. I think it is absolutely fascinating. And funny enough, you're right. It's hardly ever touched upon, but there is a lot to it. And it is really, really important element because when we, again, just quick reflection on history, as you said, President Clinton, the US President Clinton is a very good example of someone being brought down because of a sex scandal. Now, of course, he certainly wasn't the only one. You can go back as far as looking back in history, as far back as Caligula, who was murdered, murdered actually, because of his sexual perversions. And people like in our recent history, and you might remember um, uh, what was called the Profumo affair, when our defence, the British Defence Secretary, was having an affair with a prostitute, Christine Keeler, who was also having an affair with a Russian diplomat. Um, Now, that brought down the whole government. The whole Conservative government was brought down to that. And slightly more recently, the Liberal leader, there was a Liberal leader called Jeremy Thorpe, who looked like he was going to survive the Liberal Party's fortunes. He thought so anyway. Um, but he was seen to be involved in some attempted murder of a homosexual lover. Now, all of these things are just examples, but if sexual scandal is touched on with a leader, it seems to me it's the end. There's no going back. The public have got no sympathy. Maybe like to read about it. They don't. Yeah, that's right. But they don't have any sympathy for them. Now, Hitler, then, you might think this rather funny looking man, you would imagine, somewhere or another, he looked almost asexual. And some people thought he was. A lot of people also thought he was homosexual. Um, now, there were a few reports. One American journalist wrote very clearly, he said that Hitler was very ladylike, dainty little steps. Okay, take that as you like. But others did often say that his mannerisms were quite effeminate. So, and of course, he wasn't seen with women. He's always seen on his own. It was never the same woman or any woman very often near him. But Hitler was very conscious, actually, nevertheless. He was conscious of this feminine sort of image. And you can see even in the time here, he looks very macho there. He made sure that when he was photographed, nearly always he's wearing uniform leather belts, long leather boots, and nearly always he carried a whip, a bullwhip, which he would crack against his leather boots when he was talking to make him sound more macho. When he met females, he introduced himself as Herr Wolf. So he was clearly very, 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 very aware of this. But, and this was the thing, he certainly wasn't sexual. In actual fact, he was a sexual predator. Um, and he favored juvenile teenagers, girls. Uh, and as it turned out, his behaviour when he did have these relationships. There are quite a few mentioned in the book. He had quite a few with teenage girls. He very quickly turned them into fall today to be sort of sadomasochist relationship. And I think that is the big shock factor that you're alluding to there. I don't think that's generally considered that he was indeed, without any doubt. And we have quite a lot of evidence to that. For example, he had a long relationship with his niece, his niece, who he had met he knew her, obviously, his half-niece, his half-sister's daughter. But she had come in to visit him in prison, aged about 14, 15. He was taken very much with her, and quite sometime afterwards, he decided that his sister could come and work for him. He had a house now in Bjarke's garden, that his sister could come and work for him as housekeeper. But his ulterior motive was that she would bring along her daughter, who was now 17. And sure enough, it didn't take long. Hitler had her living next door to him in his flat, and they became lovers. But she wrote to her friend, and this is one of the evidence of how she said, this is her words, chilling words. She says, "You'd never believe the things that he makes me do." Okay, so we can leave it at that as far as his relationship with her name was Kelly, but he went on, and he had just in the book I list 5 different females that he had very questionable relationships. One of them was even a Jewish princess. Now, if you can imagine, if any of these, time to go through them all, but if any of these scandals had become public, it would have completely ruined this image that Hitler had built up of a messiah, of a savior, of a superhuman, a man who is a man for himself. And so would have brought him down. I think you asked how he managed to avoid that. Well, that question can probably be summed up in one word: Gestapo. And so anybody that knew about Hitler's behavior was simply kept out of it. The media, if they knew, wouldn't dare say anything. That's how it's the difference between Hitler's sexual scandals and everybody else's sexual scandals was that it was a totalitarian fascist state where nobody had any free speech.
And that's a huge part of a lot of totalitarian regimes, as you just mentioned, that they're able to hide information, and if they're able to hide the leaders' certain scandals, then that will only seek to strengthen that leader's position, that party's position.